if you're eating these foods, you're essentially like on the pill, right? So your girlfriend, for example, or girls you know might be on the pill, right? Birth control. And the pill, if you look on the box, is literally just estradiol. And you are literally eating foods that contain a substance that is structurally incredibly similar to estradiol. What this is going to do is it's going to lower your testosterone. If you clicked on this video, then you're probably trying to find out ways to optimize your testosterone levels. You might have started going to the gym, you might have started lifting weights, and you might have just started self-improvement in general, and you're just wanting to know how to improve your testosterone levels, because testosterone is super important, not only for building muscle at the gym, but just for like feeling good and like being productive, and just like, it's just super important. So, and in this video, I'm going to tell you 5 things that you might be doing on a daily basis that could really be harming your testosterone levels. And this is partly from like self-experimentation, and also from a lot of what I read online from like actual studies and stuff, because I do quite like reading some like nerdy ass studies. So hopefully this advice is valuable to you, and I'll get straight into it. So when I was about 19, I broke up with my girlfriend that I was with for just over 3 years, like 3.5 years. And obviously that time period when you break up with your girlfriend, who you've been with for a long time, you kind of start wanting to like go out and like meet other girls, and like go out drinking a lot more with your friends, and going out partying and meeting new people. But I knew that I had low testosterone. I was very kind of aware that I might have had low testosterone, because I started watching a YouTuber called More Plates, More Dates. You've probably heard of him, right? Derek from More Plates, More Dates. He's a sick YouTuber. Like, he's like, talks about testosterone and like endocrinology a lot. And from what I'd heard from him, I was showing signs of low testosterone. So a story, I'll give you an example, is we went out, me and my friends, me and the lads, right? There was maybe like 6 of us or something. And we're all sat around a table. I think I was like one of the only single people there, like me and like 2 other guys were single, and everyone else like was in relationships. So it was just between me and this other dude. And like, there's one of the dude who was like single, but he was like, not like, I could tell like he wasn't gonna like get involved, try to talk to girls or anything. So it was just literally me and this other dude. And we were like thinking about like how we can go like speak to some girls. And there was some girls on this other table at the pub we were at, like sat outside. And it was like, we're all sat outside in the coats, it's like winter, I'm like drinking my beer, and we're all like, you know, just chatting shit and just like being goofy and being like friends, just laughing and stuff, just like chatting shit basically. And there's me and this other mate are just like try to think about how to go and approach these other girls on this table. And literally, like, I was so nervous about going over and speaking to these girls that like, obviously I didn't know who they were or anything like this, just like complete cold approach, because I'd never really done the whole like cold approach thing of just like going up to girls and talking to them. And I was so nervous that he had to go and do it. So he went, he spoke to them and just like was honest, like, you know, can we come sit over with you guys? And it eventually like worked out. So like we went over and sat with the girls and got chatting to them. It turns out these girls were like 26 and I was like 19 at the time. So it wasn't really gonna like work out or anything like that. And nothing actually came of it. But it was in that moment where I realized like, fuck, I can't even go like talk to a stranger or talk to like a girl who I don't know. And this is like when I was single. So I was like, I can't even like bring myself to go talk to people. Like, I'm so introverted, I'm so like anxious all the time. And I just feel like if I was like this like confident person who had like high testosterone and was like a bit bigger at the time and was going to the gym, because at the time I wasn't even going to the gym, I wasn't really training. So it's like, I feel like if I was like in that mindset of like having high testosterone and like being confident and being one of these alpha Chad dudes, I'd have just easily been able to go and talk to these people. And the fact that my friend had to go and talk to them on behalf of me made me feel a little bit like a pussy. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, it's cool that we went over and spoke to them, like, don't get me wrong, but I felt a little bit like a pussy. And since then, I've been really interested in trying to find ways to like actually heighten my testosterone, because again, it's not just for like building muscle. Like, it makes you like just a more confident person. It can make people like angrier as well, which like isn't a good thing necessarily, but it can just make you like more dominant, essentially, like a bit more like self-assured, like within yourself, confident essentially. So it is important, and it's something I've been super interested in, especially been on self-improvement now for like the past 3 years. Like, I'm pretty heavily into self-improvement in the past 2 years, especially with this YouTube channel, and try to like expand my knowledge and stuff. So hopefully the advice can help you here. So I'll get straight into the first one. First thing that I noticed straight away from my research and from watching other videos on this that I was doing at this time when I was 19 and like couldn't even go approach these people, was just constantly beating my meat, constantly watching porn. I would watch porn like pretty much every day, especially on a night like before I go to bed. So this is when I was like totally single and everything, and I completely just like was addicted to porn, right? Couldn't stop watching porn, couldn't stop like beating my meat all the time. It's just like, it's embarrassing to even talk about on a video, because like I think a lot of guys have this issue as well and like won't talk about it, but it's like just like porn addiction, just like at the time, like when you're in the moment, like instant gratification, it can be like great. It's just like a fun thing to do. But then like, you know, when everyone has that like post-nut clarity, and you always think like afterwards, like you just feel like a bit like a loser when you've just like kind of busted and you're like, oh, it's just like, you just feel like a bit grim, don't you? Like a bit disgusting. And I noticed that in this time period when I was 19, I took on board this advice like in the summer where I just like, it was like no fap, but I didn't do it in November when everyone, like no nut November when everyone else does it. I just like was like, right, I'm not gonna like watch porn, I'm not gonna masturbate, I'm not gonna do anything, which was super difficult to do. It's got willpower, discipline, but you know, it's like the first step of self-improvement, right? It's just stop watching porn, mate. So I did that for like a long time, and like, you know, since then I've done it, but like it's like since getting a girlfriend I've not done it. So but between this time period there was like an experimentation phase essentially of like 3 or 4 months where I was like, right, I'm not touching my meat, I'm not gonna do any of this shit. And I noticed straight away that I felt a lot more like I might have had higher testosterone. And the way I can tell this, and the advice I can give you to sort of tell if you do have higher testosterone in the background, is like if you wake up with like morning wood, that is a good like sign that you have good healthy testosterone levels. Because throughout this whole period of time and like a lot of my life, I was waking up with like just a normal like flappy dick, right? And we all know when you're going through puberty, when you're like super young, right, you're super horny, you just always like remember when you used to just like randomly get boners, right? When you were like a teenage, like 16 or 15, you used to like randomly get boners and have to like hide it and like walk, like tuck your like meat into your trousers so that no one could see. And it's like, I used to always get this, but like now that I'm 23, well, I'm 22, but like in my 20s and when I was 18, 19, I just stopped getting this. And I noticed straight away when I stopped watching porn and I stopped like masturbating, I was getting morning wood, which is like a sign from what I've read that like your testosterone has like gone back up and is like, it's like a healthier thing to have. Like it's healthy to wake up with morning wood. And that's what's been happening to me for like the better part of like 2 years now. Every morning, or most mornings anyway. If I've like been drinking or something like that, I won't. But most mornings I do. So that's like a good kind of measurement to say that you have good like testosterone levels. Oh, it's not that the only measurement, but it's like one of the measurements, right? So yeah, that's the first one. Like since just like stopping watching porn, stopping beating my meat, I've just been waking up with morning wood essentially, which I think is a good sign that I am just having high testosterone levels, because it's like back when you're in puberty, right? When your testosterone's super high. So that was the first thing. And just a quick side note as well, if you like to help you to like stop watching porn if you're addicted, go and watch my previous video. I did a video on mental toughness, and I think that'll help you, because there's like a really cool piece of advice in there that I've literally barely heard anyone spoke about. I've only heard one other person speak about it, and that was Andrew Huberman. And I think that advice could really help you to actually like stop watching porn. Okay, the second one is kind of related. It's staying out late drinking. So this is something I used to do all the time, like similar to that story. Like that was just a random Friday, and like every single weekend, like the Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes the Thursday, I would just go out drinking with my friends, and we'd go to the local pubs, and it's just like it would just became a habit, right? I'd just drink every week, like 3, 4, 5, 6 pints every night on the weekends, not midweek, but. And I noticed like when I was drinking a lot of alcohol, my sleep quality was terrible. I would always wake up feeling super groggy and like not being capable of like doing any work, or I wouldn't be able to go to the gym the next day or anything like that, even though I was like starting training at this point. And yeah, you can look at studies on alcohol. Alcohol does actually lower your testosterone. It's got estrogens in it. It like promotes estrogenic activity in the body. So a big like simple tip, I guess, is just stop going out late, because that's going to ruin your sleep, and stop drinking when you go out late. So one tip I'll give you that I've put here is start, like the best thing that I did for this was like start a business, like start a YouTube channel, start a dropshipping business, start an agency. I've always been trying to like set up a business or some kind of way of making money online. And I feel like since starting up this YouTube channel, I've been going out with my friends drinking a lot less, because I actually have an excuse, like a reason to not go out. Like it's Friday today, okay? So if people wanted me to go out now and like drink because it's like bank holiday, so there's no one working. My friends could invite me to go out drinking now, but I like need to record these videos. I need to get like editing done. I've got work to do. So if you have like a business, like something that you need to do that's like purposeful, that you really want to get on with, like to just grind on, that's going to be a great way to escape actually having to go out drinking. And if your friends are like true friends, then they're going to understand you. If your friends like, you know, don't like this or whatever, or you don't want to go out drinking because you want to work, it's like they're probably not very good friends, right? So, okay, the third one is something I had a huge problem with, and this is to stop vaping, right? So when I was about 17, I would smoke cigarettes, and I would literally, like the job I worked at the time, I would literally walk to the bus station at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would smoke a cigarette from my house. On the way to the bus station, I'd be smoking a cigarette, get on the bus would take me to work, and then there would be a long walk from the bus station to my actual office, and I would smoke another cigarette there, so that's 2 in the morning. And then when I was on lunch break at work, I would smoke a third, and then on the way back it would be like the same but in reverse, so like 5 cigarettes a day every day. And I was like, fuck, this is getting too much, this is like so unhealthy. I was like, I need to stop. So I moved on to like did what everyone else did, right? I moved on to vaping. And for literally like 3 solid years straight, I was just like vaping constantly. Like if I was sat in my room now, like I am now, I would just be like watching YouTube, sat here, just vaping, or I'd go for a walk and I'd be vaping. I couldn't go outside without my vape, you know, like I'd be like, if I'd lost it, I'd go like panic mode, like looking around my room, like, fuck, where have I put my vape? And I'd be like pulling my bed up. I remember there's one time I lost it and I literally like pulled out my whole bed and like just dismantled like my whole room trying to find my vape. It was like, I'm thinking back on it, it's like, Jesus, I was so addicted. And I've been looking at studies recently on it. I can link one in the description if I remember to do it whilst I'm editing this, Joe. Link it in the description. There's a study from the like national health thing, whatever, that looks into like vaping and the effects on the endocrine system, which is like testosterone and stuff, and your glands that produce it. And it's like pretty clear that vaping is really disruptive to like your sperm cell reproduction, your testosterone. And there was a study done where they compared people who vaped versus not vaping, and like DHT and testosterone. DHT is like it's like a better version of testosterone essentially, but these two were like decreased quite significantly from people who vaped for long periods of time. So if you are vaping, right, which you probably are, like most young guys are, just stop. Again, watch my previous video on like mental toughness. That might help you to be able to quit vaping. And the one thing that really helped me to quit vaping is I got these little nicotine pouches over here. These they're from Sweden or something, right? I think like quite a lot of people are using them now. I mean, they're not exactly healthy for you either, but from the studies I've read, they don't actually like lower testosterone. It's not the nicotine that lowers the testosterone, it's the toxins in the actual like vape, the e-cigarette fluid that lowers your testosterone. So you should be okay with them. I'm not telling you to go on them, by the way. This isn't me like preaching, I'll go on these instead. But it's like, if you are like seriously addicted to vaping, then try like nicotine gum, try those pouches, and that might help you to get off. Because I've not vaped now for a long time, and I've not gone and bought a vape. I've not been like addicted to vaping or anything. I've just been using these. Again, it's not the best solution, but it's better than vaping. Right, the fourth thing is your diet, and specifically if you're eating foods that contain what's called phytoestrogens. So phytoestrogens, there's like 3 main ones. Are these essentially like structures, like compounds that are in a lot of foods that essentially look like estradiol. Like the structure of the phytoestrogen is similar to estradiol, and estradiol is the main sex hormone in females. It's like the precursor to estrogen. And if you're eating these foods that contain phytoestrogens, you're essentially like on the pill, right? So your girlfriend, for example, or girls you know might be on the pill, right? Birth control. And the pill, if you look on the box, is literally just estradiol. And you are literally eating foods that contain a substance that is structurally incredibly similar to estradiol, and they activate the same receptors as estradiol does. What this is going to do is it's going to lower your testosterone, right? Because estrogen goes up, testosterone is going to go down. It's just a balancing act between the two. Males have more testosterone and less estrogen. Females have more estrogen, less testosterone. It's as simple as that. And if you're eating a lot of foods that contain high amounts of phytoestrogens, you're definitely going to lower your testosterone. So I wrote down some foods to avoid here that are really high. So soybeans are by far the highest in phytoestrogens, and anything that contains soy. So this is a tough one for me to say, but soy sauce, because I fucking love soy sauce. I like really like, so I used to use it all the time, but since like reading this and since learning more about it, I've had to just cut it off because it's just really bad for you. And then like stuff like tofu, unfortunately, like pretty much every single vegetable is super high in phytoestrogens. Not as bad as soybeans, but really the conclusion from what I've read, if you want to completely avoid phytoestrogens, which I'm not saying you have to completely avoid them, but essentially you just would need to go on like a keto diet. But if you have anything that has soy in it, just that's the first thing you can do, is just take that out. And like milk as well, milk and yogurt, like dairy products from cows, contain quite a lot of phytoestrogens, because the cows are mainly fed on soybeans like their whole life. Unless you get like organic grass-fed like meats and stuff, you'll be fine. But the milk from cows does contain phytoestrogens. So, but that, I mean, I've not had milk in years because it's bad for my eczema, which is a different like reason, I guess. But yeah, they're the foods to avoid. And the last one I'll give you is just sitting down and being indoors and just not really being very active or mobile. And this is something that a lot of young guys do. I mean, I speak to a lot of my friends, and realistically, when they're like not working, they pretty much just sit and just like play video games all day. Like a couple of them play football and stuff, but it's a big thing with young guys to just like be indoors and just like little cretins just sat in your room just like playing on video games. I mean, I'm just as bad like sometimes, because like I'm recording videos here, I'm in my room, I'm inside, and once I've recorded these 3 videos, I'm gonna like be editing the 3 videos and like uploading them. So I'm just gonna be sat at my desk, literally just like on the YouTube studio, just like sorting everything out for like a few hours today. But I went for a walk this morning, and this is something I've talked about before, but literally every single morning when I wake up, the first thing I try and do is go for a walk and get the morning sunlight. It gets me outside, it gets me out the house, it gets me like my heart rate up a little bit, it's cardio. And just the final tip that I want to give you is just go outside more, go see the sunlight. A big reason that a lot of guys have low testosterone is because they're just indoors all the time. An example I can give you is, a lot of people talk about testosterone from the previous generations as like old dudes having super high testosterone, like when they were our age. So like if you imagine your like grandparents, like your granddad or something, when he was your age, he will have had way higher testosterone than you do right now. And that's because in their generation, they had to be outside, right? They had to be seeing this. They were constantly exposed to UV from the sun, which helps to produce testosterone. Because it produces vitamin D, which is really needed for testosterone production. They might have been like working in the mines or something, or doing a paper round. So they were constantly out. They were constantly surrounded by other men as well. Like there was back in that sort of society, in like, you know, in the like 1950s or 60s or 70s or whatever, it was like a lot more like, you know, men did the work that the men do, like building the roads and going into the mines and doing all this stuff, and they were surrounded by other men, and then the women just like mainly just stayed at home, right? And that's like, I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, I'm just saying, like, when you're surrounded by other men and you're constantly out like doing some hard work like that, there's no science to support it, but it's like, it makes sense to me. That's why they would have higher testosterone at our age. Do you know what I mean? But then you compare that to us, like you and me, and we're growing up with technology. And some of us have been raised on iPads, and a lot of us have been raised by our PlayStation and GTA 5, and we've been raised on our Instagrams, and now it's TikTok. And like, no wonder we have low testosterone. We're inside, we're looking at screens, we're not getting any sunlight, we're not getting outside, we're not getting mobile. So this tip is a bit more ambiguous, but just make an effort to go outside. It's really helped me in terms of, like, I think it's helped me in terms of my testosterone anyway. I'm not like 100% sure, but I've been getting outside for walks every day. I'm outside for at least like 2 hours a day, I'd say, maybe like 1.5 hours every day. Just make an effort to go outside. Like if you find yourself just being indoors all the time, just please try and get outside more, because it's not even just for the testosterone benefit, right? I mean, it's just gonna make you feel better, and make you feel more like in touch with the world, and like not as like cooked up in some little room like all day. So yeah, that is literally all the advice I can give you on that. I'm pretty sure I've said everything I need to say. Yeah. Right, bro, thank you for watching the video. I hope you got some value out of this, and yeah, keep improving every day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.